I've prepared a little bit of this here. I've done some work on the parts. It doesn't have a lot of reusable features, but I have some ideas what I could do. I could actually fit a base body underneath this, possibly even get rid of the face here, since that's all it really is just a face. There's no back of the head. If you look here, it's just not even full bust, just so we can replace that with an avatar, like I don't know, make human wouldn't be a bad idea. But I'm going to show how I map this, and then you might choose a different strategy based on your mood. And I'm going to first give it a rest pose. I'm going to select the reference pose. I'm going to select the armature and in pose mode. I want to make sure I'm on the first frame, which in this case, start frame is 1. So go to frame 1 and I'll select all the bones, and then I'm going to click off of the keys to deselect all the keys. Then I'm going to marquee select just a tiny bit of the beginning so I can focus on that area. I guess I'll turn the key cast on so you can see what buttons I'm pressing. That's for focus there. And I can shrink that down. Now I'm going to just move these over from 1 to 2. And I want to deposit my new key here, but I want to reset the skeleton. Alt R, Alt G, 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 G. And then I think I've already put a key set in here, which is locker location and rotation, and just set the key. And I'll need my reference frame for later when I go to transfer this animation. Now I'm going to explain a thing here. I've already determined that because these arms are trying to get themselves noticed, and they should because they are the extra arms, they're articulating the fingers more predominantly, and this one is almost kind of staying still, probably is staying still. So we're going to put the arm bones in here along with the fingers, and not in this one where it would make more sense, right? We're just going to leave the fingers out, and these are going to be, I guess, the leg bones. I haven't decided. Maybe the wing bones. We'll see how that works out. Because we want to show the coolness in here. I'm going to animate this to show what it does. You see the arms here. The fingers are moving around, and these aren't really doing anything. They're just staying still. Those are kind of wiggling, but yeah. We won't be able to do all those. I think it's better to use the fingers for this coolness here. Now there is an idea of using the face bones for this. There's plenty of face bones. And we can use one side of the head for that, one side of the head for that. And I might show that in another video. But for now, let's just do the simple method. And let's get moving here. Going to start with the skeleton, go in my reference pose, and start mapping these bones out. Let's see what we got here. If I just click action, see what we get. Ooh, she's pretty big, huh? Let's scale her down some. Set the stage. And I want to grab myself a rig for scale. She's going to be normal size, so the head bone is here, which should come down about here. So a little bit smaller maybe. Let's go see how big that skeleton is. That's right, it's like right on the mark. 1.67 is where I was going for. And that can be adjusted through the sliders in the world, so you don't have to worry about that. But we are going to retain this, so I'm going to save this. But really it doesn't matter as far as mapping goes. I just wanted to get an appropriate size. So I'm going to save this and go back to my mapper and see where the skeleton lands. That's fine. This is pretty straightforward, as they say, because there's no unusual bones. It's just what we expect here, pretty much. And that toe might even work. I think all the bones actually deform the mesh, which is great. No extra bones. Well, let's find out. That might be the wrist here. And oh, that's a twist bone. Okay, so that's not. We won't be using that. We don't even have to map that. But it makes sense where the bones are. We yeah. All right, let's start mapping. Since they're stuck out like that, I don't have to hide the mesh to start mapping. Let's just do that. Usually I'll start with like the pelvis, but let's start with the head. So then I may have to hide the mesh. Let's find the head bone. Do we have one? That's probably it. That, yeah, I'll call that the head bone. That's the skull. We don't want that. We want the head bone. I'll just say map these bones. Let's go find the next one. We're looking for the neck bone. See if there is a neck bone. Yep. And then like two other bones here before the pelvis, right? And where do we get those? So we have this one here. I think that one is not a functional bone. I think it's these two here, but we're going to check it out. Yeah, that's more of a, I'm not sure what I would call that. It's not a control bone. The other bones control that, so maybe that's something else, some sort of an anchor. Well, yeah, we can't use that. That'll be absorbed automatically. I hope. This looks to be like other things are. Oh, I see. Because the arms are attached to it. All right. So let's try this one. And that's not a good one either, is it? Maybe I can use that as the chest bone. Let's go one more. See what we get. We might have to skip bone. So this would normally be the torso and not the chest. So I'm going to make it the torso. And we might throw the chest in later if we discover that it's useful. And I'm going to go right back down. I'm going to right to the spine now, and this has got to be it. It seems a little high for the spine, but yeah, it is. The spine. I'm sorry, the pelvis, not the spine. Duh. So now we got that. Let's go for our arms. Now, I'm going to start right with the arms that I said I was going to do. These right here. So I'm going to choose these. I'm going to use my my fill tool. I have the wrist. Oh, okay, hold on. I put a new feature in here so that when you disable follow, you get an appropriate hierarchy influence here, so that you can see what you're working with. Anyway, so I'm going to start with the wrist, and I'm counting my bones 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to count my bones on this as well. This is the wrist, and I'll hide the mesh. Count them all the way up, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and see if this articulates properly. So that works. So now I'm going to select the end here, just like I did there. Say it's a chain of 4, and then use fill to get them all mapped. Now, if I turn follow back on, you'll see the bones go into place. And we'll do the same thing over here. So choose that one, the wrist. Is that the right one? No, that's the wrong one. Did I choose the wrong one? I chose the wrong one, yep. I want the lower one because that's the one that's doing all the fun stuff. So we'll do that instead. I'm just going to marquee select these bones here and click on map, and we'll go do this thing again. And I do want to, I don't know which one I checked, so I do want to make sure that this is the one that's articulating 1, 2, 3. There is an additional bone, it's here, right? 1, 2, 3. That's only 3 bones. Let's see what we got, what we did. There might only be 3 bones. Oh no, no, there's this one here. Okay, so I think that works because that's a child of that. If I choose that, you'll see that's a child of that. And then there's a relationship line here somewhere. There it is. All right, I think that works. Let's show the mesh again. What else we need to do? We've got the entire spine done. We've got the arms done. Now we want to do the hands. I want to bring my hands over closer to the target or the source rig. So when I go to map the fingers, they're pretty close to where I'm working. And now if I map one section, all the other fingers are going to pop back into place. So I want to enable my release button, and we'll start with the thumb, and I'll say it's a chain of 3. Go to the thumb on here. Is that the right arm? Yeah. And I just do the fill, and I just keep doing this until it's done. So 1 on there, here, fill. Does this have 3 parts? Yes, it does. Now this is more convenient, of course, than clicking on each bone. It would have taken us quite a bit longer to do that. But I could very well have just done each one separately, click that bone, and then just say map these bones. But I put the fill tool in there for convenience. So now we've got the end bones. I think that works. I'm going to save my my file here, and this is going to go along with the package that you receive when you grab this item, so you'll be able to change it up the way you want. I'm going to save the map. The map is already stored on the rig itself, but we always want to save our map just in case, because sometimes we don't actually use the rig. The set, rather. For instance, when I'm done here, I might actually reload the file and then convert this, which means I'll have to load the map again for the conversion process. It depends on what I do to the rig. Sometimes you have to destroy the rig if it's too complicated, pulling stuff off, deleting it, just so you can see what's going on. And that's fine. You can always reload the original afterwards. Now, here comes an interesting part. I think I'm going to use the wing bones, as much of it as I can for these. Now the wing bones have an extra bone on it. It's an attachment bone, and I believe it's within the hierarchy, so we can actually utilize it to extend the wing. I'm going to check that out in a second. I'm going to hide the mesh here first, and I'm going to enable show all bones. Now I'm going to check out the wing bone, but I want to check out its hierarchy. No, maybe not. We'll see. So I'm going to disable follow, and what that will do will enable the real hierarchy of the target. Oh, we do have an extension, so we can use this. You can see the relationship line that extends our wings, so we get to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wing bones. We get to have 5 wing bones. Of course, then we have an additional bone. Now, while this is supposed to be used as an attachment, I would use it to extend the wing bone instead and use this one as an attachment, and you would just skin something to it, because this is a child of that bone. Anyway, let's do the wing bones. Let's see what moves here. Okay, so that will move the entire set. Will this do it too? No. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have just enough without actually affecting the fingers. Unfortunately, we can't. We have just enough to reach the wrist, which is pretty decent. So I'm going to go from there and say that there's 5 in the chain, and I'm going to select that end bone, which is actually an attachment bone, but we can use that, and I'm going to say fill, and then I'll click follow so you can see that it actually worked. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This rig is actually easy to read, and I'm going to click this because that's actually the end bone here. It goes there. You can see the relationship lines if we enable the proper hierarchy by disabling follow. And make sure my bone is selected here, the end bone, and click fill. Alright, so the arms are done for that. What else can I use on this rig? What else would I be able to use to give me a couple of fingers? I don't know. I'm not going to get into that right now, but keep in mind that there are other things you can do with this. Let's finish up with the legs. I'll say show mesh. Okay, so that's the hip. So we have 2 bones in the feet, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll just do the regular legs, and I'll say show less bones, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. So at the very end, I have, I think, the toe. So I'll fill those with a 4, and do the same thing here. I think our avatar is finished. Let's go see if there's any interesting bones. Is that an eye bone? That is an eye bone. We're going to throw the eye bones in just in case they do work. And we know where those are, so I'm going to say hide the mesh. I'm just going to use the regular eyes. Some people will use the alt eyes. That's fine. The regular eyes actually do work. People say they don't because Second Life controls them, and it's not entirely true. I don't know what they're using, but they're not using Bento Buddy. So map these bones, and map these bones. Now let's see, one more thing. I just want to make sure, because I have, there's 2 bones here. I didn't know that. So let's see what that is. We show the mesh. Okay, that looks like it might be a thing. So we have, I think, we have a head bone, we have a neck bone, and then we have another bone, which is here, which we don't need. We don't need it, so it's not going to help. But we might choose that instead of that for a neck bone later on if we run into issues, but I really don't see it happening. Let's make sure. Yeah, because that rock's wrong. You see, we're not going to use that's unfortunate. We can't use the chest bone, but that's fine. We are done here. I'm going to just save this, and since we didn't have to destroy anything, I can just convert this on the spot and say reset the stage. And I'm going to go over to my character converter and enable copy. This will copy all of the items, including the rig, when I hit convert. That way I don't destroy my original. Now the gun is not part of the set, you can see. You can use that as an attachment in world. I think it's better to do that, but you can skin it to the hand if you want. That's not a big deal. I think I would skin it to the wrist if I were to do that, so the entire thing would go to the wrist. I'm going to export this, and Blender just did a thing there. I just now I have a bunch of garbage in my scene that's not selected. I'm going to do Control Z. I don't know what just happened. I think I undid something. Yeah, I hope I don't have all that stuff in here. I'm going to just reload what I saved, because when I went to save it, I clicked on a portion of the UI, and in the new blenders it lets you do that, and it deselects your stuff in the 3D view. I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, but I don't have a use for it. I'm going to try this again. I know that the map's on it already. I'll hit make copy, convert. I have all my stuff selected, export, and there we go. Once it exports, I'll just hit delete to delete this stuff. And I'll export the gun too. We'll throw it in as an attachment. I don't have to convert that. I'll just export it. Oh, I can't do that because Bento Buddy's exporter is specifically designed for skin mesh. I'll just use the regular Blender thing. And presets for static mesh. Put that in a different file. See what happens to that. I don't care. We'll see what we get. Next thing I want to do is the animation. So I want to bring the animation in too. So I'm going to use my character tools, and I want to use the bone control instead of the retarget motion tool because it's more convenient for me, since I just have to, I'm going to send to animation, which sends the frame range to the animation tool. And I want to snap the bones, snap to map, this here, snap to map. And the reason why I want to use this tool is because I can just hit delete when I'm done exporting the animation. So let's do that again. And with the other retargeter, you have to reset the stage because it's very complicated controllers in there. It's for relative animations, which you may want to do if you're going to use this as an avatar, and you want your avatar to use other Second Life animations. So I may do that as well. As a matter of fact, there's a little bit more preparation if we're going to do that. So I'm not going to do that yet. And if I am going to wear it, I'll put it at a priority 3. Maybe a 2 is okay. Depends on your AO, I guess. And I'm going to loop the animation just for testing. And I know that on frame 1 is the reference frame, so I don't want to play frame 1, but we do need it. And I'll export that. I'm also going to use the other retargeter and export an animation with that. I don't know if this is going to fail. I guess it's not. I'm going to use the relative retargeter here, and the snap to bone retargeter uses this glue feature, which we can't use if we're going to use existing Second Life animations. And I want to give this some distance so I can see what's going on. And I'll hit action, and we'll see that the target rig moves with the source animation rig. Now this isn't done yet. if we're going to utilize these animations, this rig with current animations in Second Life, we have to do something else. I'm going to reset the stage, show you what I'm going to do. The best thing to do here is to res a rig here, res, just create, and follow the shape or the spread of these fingers. And I only need to look at the rig, so I'm going to select both rigs and isolate them. Go up top, and I know that the rig that I want to use is, well, it's at the bottom, isn't it? Yeah, so it's at the bottom. So those are the fingers I want to spread out. Go into pose mode, and when I do that, I'm going to make that my reference pose. So I want to make sure I'm on frame 1. And I'm also going to want to make sure I have a T-pose. So I'm going to put this in a T-pose. See what I get. Hang on. I think this is the one. Yeah. So put that sort of like in a T-pose. It really doesn't have to be perfect, but the fingers definitely have to be as perfect as you can get them. And now that you have the arms up, I'm going to just angle. That's the top, isn't it? I don't want the top, I want the bottom. Is it? No, that's the bottom that went to the top. So I do want to angle that like, actually I want to undo that because that wasn't in an isometric view. Do that. And we want them to get shaped sort of like that. So and this will be for utilizing existing in-world animations. And then I'm just going to spread the fingers first, the way I think they ought to be. I think there's one more thing I should do. I don't want to go through a whole bunch of work here because I've gone through this so many times already before in different videos. And the middle finger is supposed to be straight out. So let's see what we got on this side. No, it's alright, I guess. Now the other thing is these fingers are angled. They should be straight out. So like, they would be like that. And this isn't going to work the way I want it to without additional testing and fiddling. But you really want to get them like that. And then we have another finger that's goofy. And this is just not going to be the best job, but it's going to be close enough where you can see what you need to do next. I really hate dealing with these fingers. Front. Guessing this isn't the best thing to do. You want to put constraints on this so they only move in a certain axis, and they all seem lined up properly, so you can do that. But we're not going to fiddle with that right now. And before we ruin the pose, we want to make sure, that's why we went to frame 1 here, otherwise it would screw up everything we just did. I want to hit A for all, and then I to embed that pose. And I'm going to save this file. Just like that. That is not perfect, but let's see what we get here. What's that? Was that the other arm? I think we got it warped. Did we have it warped? I have no idea. It's difficult to see this way. Anyway, we're done with the rig, the reference rig here. We can just delete it, visual reference. And did I mix up the arms? I have no idea. No, it looks okay, kind of. Here we go. So I'm going to export this animation retargeted using the relative retargeter here, and just go action, and I will keep that rig selected because that's where the animation is going to be exported from. I really don't know what's going on there. Maybe this isn't possible. I know I have to realign the arms, the wings, because I can't do relative retargeting on the wings. I might have to use a constraint. This is going to be a puzzle. Let's see what happens. I'm kind of fuzzy. I know how to get this done. I just didn't realize I was going to bump into that problem. Let's export this animation into a different file. And again, frame 2. I did it again. Look, it's unselected. I'm going to make that number 2. I'm not going to move my mouse because if an error pops up, it'll vanish if I do that. I want to see if we get an error. It looks good. Well, let's try this in Second Life. Upload a mesh. That was a hefty mesh. I wonder if it's going to upload. Well, it's well done. Nice. I really expected that to be crap. Sure. So what's that going to do to me? One or more of the dimensions is less than 0.05 millimeter. Only hole-based analysis physics shapes will work correctly. Well, I don't care if it works at all. We don't need physics on this. So I'm going to do 2 things here. The first one I'm going to upload with joint positions, and the second one I'm going to upload without joint positions. No, I have to upload them both. I have to upload it with joint positions. I can't do it without joint positions because it's a custom character, custom skeleton. Oh, has to be that way. Otherwise I'm going to get that crap. We can't fix that. We can do it with an animation, but it's not persistent across viewers. Now the legs aren't supposed to be like that. I don't know why. Oh, well, I mean I can put them closer together in Blender. I know why they're spread because the animation that's being imposed on this is causing that to happen. And I guess the legs are a little bit more spread than they ought to be in Blender. I wondered about that. I was going to check that. As a matter of fact, let me do that now. Let's just bring these legs in a little bit. It doesn't look that bad, does it? But let's do it anyway. I'm going to actually do it with some precision. looks like the back leg. Is that a back leg? What is that? Oh, it's not a back leg. That is the animation. Well, now if I do this, I'm going to have to adjust the animation as well. Or redo the animation. I'm going to reset the retargeter. I'm going to pose this so these legs should come in a little bit more. And how much they should come in depends. So let's see, what do we got? Oh, that is quaternion. So let's change that to change it to Euler so we can see what's going on. Oh, I didn't apply it. Now that won't animate now because I'm sure in the background it's only using quaternions. But now we can see how much this moves in degrees. So this is going to be on the Y about 3 degrees. That doesn't seem like a whole lot, does it? 4 degrees. I'll do 4 degrees. I'm going to put this back to quaternion. Because I need it for the animation. I'm going to move this, I don't know if that's negative. 3 degrees. 4 degrees, yeah. And this one will be, I believe, negative, so negative 4. And I'm going to again set the reference pose here, so and I'm going to save this. Again, I'm going to export my animations. Actually, I only need to, yeah, I need to export them both. So I'm going to export the relative animation by retargeting again. And this will be on the second one, and I don't want frame 1 in there. This will be on number 2. And then I'll show how to do this with the relative retargeter instead of using bone control. It's the same thing, only easier to use bone control when that's all you need. Go back to the character tools, reset the stage, enable glue, and make this a 0 action. And then export this animation. And again, I keep forgetting to disable that button, so that's what's happening there. And then this one I do have to reset the targeter with, otherwise I'm going to leave junk in the scene. And that's the reason why bone control is better used for this type of prototyping. And again, we're going back into Second Life, but I think I need the, yeah, I need the mesh as well, because I changed the shape. So make copy, convert, and export. And delete. There we go. I'm just going to clear the settings. This will load the new file. And if we look at the skin and weight and joint positions, you'll see that the legs were adjusted a little bit. Now usually this window is not very useful, but sometimes if you're using a humanoid skeleton, then you can sometimes get an indication of something going wacky. And that's what we saw there. The legs were a little bit too far apart. So that's a little better. Let's upload that. Oh, wait a minute. I don't want to do that. I want to reduce the lower LOD to 0. And I don't think it's going to do anything with a physics model anyway. Those aren't the arms that we're going to use primarily. It's the ones that are down that we'll be using. And we'll see how background animations affect it just by wearing it and seeing what happens. I think the extra arms are going to be all goofed up because we didn't do anything to move the bones. We'll see. Maybe. I did upload with joint positions, so that might not be the case. Let's just wear it. Okay. So the arms are a little okay, so we'll upload an animation and see what we get. I'm going to upload animation 2 because I know that's the regular animation. The one that is relative. Okay, so that's kind of working. We'll need a little adjustment there for the arms. So the fingers are articulating, and of course they're a little goofed up, so you'll have to work on that. They're not too bad. And there is textures for this. Textures are decent. I'm going to turn this into an animesh right now and show how it should look without the other background animations getting all in the way and stuff. So I'm going to drop a copy of this body in a world. I'm going to create an anchor. I will copy its position and drop that onto it. Paste. And I'll move it up. I'm going to shift click that and make a link, and features animesh. So where it ends up. So if it popped down too far, I would make this quite invisible, but I'm going to try to do that anyway. I don't know what's going to show up when we have our animation running, so it might be a good idea. And I'm going to drop my new animation with the joint positions, glue enabled, into this animesh. And throw my script in it. All these come with Bento Buddy. And I think that's it. I think I can just click this. Right, so I have to lift this up. Alright, so when I put this on Marketplace, it's going to have all the textures and everything on it. It's going to come with the an animesh version just to goof around with. The scripts necessary to run it, the animations, and the textures and all that. That looks pretty good. That's about it.